what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, enjoying a little breakfast right here, and just saw that Ticket TV is always take stuff from them. I always give people credit when I take stuff from them. Just reported that the Raptors trade has been busted up. It's destroyed. They can't give up the pieces without making them not good enough for KD to be happy. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's what the tea leaves show you. You know, that's what it is. You look at what it's going to cost to get KD. You look at what, you know, it's going to look like when that package is done, the potential package is done. They're just not good enough. Maybe they can be creative and retool to get better, but that's not a one-year process. You know, that's not something you can count on. I think the situation with Kawhi going to the Raptors was different because Kawhi was such an immediate upgrade to what it is that they had. They were already ready to win. They just needed to turn DeMar DeRozan into Kawhi Leonard. Voila, they were good to go. I don't think that's what's going on in Toronto right now. Toronto has a retooled team with a youngster, and maybe they could potentially trade and see that upgrade, but I don't necessarily think that helps them as an organization long term. You bring in KD for 4 years, he ages in your uniform. Maybe you win a championship, maybe you don't, but you're going to give up a lot of your future assets. And you're just kind of relying upon the core or the tradability of Van Fleet, Siakam, and whatever else you're able to retain in order to make you as good as you need to be. That ain't going to appeal to KD over a 4-year span in a city that he doesn't know. He's probably going to want to get out of there and so on and so forth. So when you look at certain situations like trading Dame, like trading KD, you're going to understand that this is exactly what they're going to run into. This is just not the era for aging superstars to be traded, because a lot of the league has young plans in place, young pieces that they are building around, that they're like in year 2 or year 3 of a 5 or 6 year plan. And they're not going to bust that plan up to bring in an aging superstar with an Achilles injury. It's just not, that's not something that you're going to do. Now, KD is the one exception as to where his talent level, you'll be like, well, but when you start negotiating, you're going to look at him as somebody who's going to demand you be great enough to win. And so it's like, yeah, I'll be willing to trade the farm for him. Maybe 1 or 2 owners be like, yeah, hell yeah, I can do it for the revenue. But then you're like, okay, when I get him here, is he going to be his best, or am I going to get what Brooklyn just had in the playoffs? And then for how long? Because he's definitely going to want out of that situation. So it's like, maybe he doesn't play for us at all. Maybe he immediately demands out or sits out, from which has also been rumored he would be willing to do. Now, I don't know that to be something anybody should be hanging their hat on. That's sort of like Kyrie Irving taking the $6 million. That's that kind of rumor, in my opinion. Very much taken with a grain of salt. I do not believe KD is going to sit this upcoming season at all. Now, within reason, if you trade him to a situation that's absolutely ridiculous, then maybe he would have to sit just to preserve himself from being hurt doing too much. Like if you trade him to the Jazz or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know they would have the package to do it. Well, yeah, of course they do, given what they gave him for Rudy Gobert. So they could do it, but he would be left with just himself and mid-level talent. So needless to say, that would not work at all. He'd probably sit out in that situation, but other situations, I doubt it. I don't think he's going to sit. I think he's going to play. But if it don't work out that first year, he's probably going to want out. Or if by the deadline, if he's not happy, he's probably going to want out. So that's just my speculation. And at any rate, the latest that I heard was that the Lakers are not interested in giving up Anthony Davis. Despite all my speculation, despite my saying GM responsibility, Lakers would be seeing that as a win, they don't seem to think so at all. And I think that information being out is important. People like myself need to believe that they wouldn't dare trade Anthony Davis. Even if it makes all the sense in the world for them to lie about it, they still need to make sure that that is what everyone believes, regardless if it's true or not, because you don't want to go down the path of having traded all this for Anthony Davis. He wins a championship for you, and then you disrespect him just because he had a down year. That's just not how you handle superstars. But at the same time, you do respect that you also have a responsibility to try to get the best talent around him. Now, if LeBron James would just simply rather play with AD than KD, for reasons that I think I've been telling you guys. I think it's a cold war been going on between them their whole careers. If that is the case, he don't want to play with that man, then you could clearly see why the Lakers wouldn't dare. So that makes sense as well. You know what I mean? And as I said, this is like a give and take. Essentially, what it would be is like Kyrie brings in KD to usurp LeBron's AD partnership. It's like KD and Kyrie's partnership would be more important to the Lakers, essentially, by means of optics. So I don't know that the Lakers would be willing to take on that just for a chance to upgrade marginally from AD to KD, also leaving us with some substantial basketball floor issues without AD's defense present, right? It's like, how much do you value KD's elite shooting versus our defensive issues with the bigs? Well, they're not defensive issues, it's talent issues with our bigs. You would need a big to help make sense. KD, LeBron, and Kyrie, with the bigs that we have, we would really need to be looking for upgrades there. So that may be what the Lakers are looking at as well. And I mentioned that in the video, like, if you get rid of AD, you do understand you're going to be deficient. So I think the Lakers are looking at that. But I also think that they're going to come around to find out that there is a possibility that they're not going to be able to find a better deal for KD than AD for the Nets and all that they demand for themselves. You know, they may circle around and find that they can't get the deal they want. So they may end up saying, you know what, if AD's on the table, we'll take it. Now, if the Lakers find out that that is the case, I still think it's reasonable to believe they might actually pull the trigger on a deal. That's just my speculation. Even if they saying I'm not doing it, as I told you initially with my speculation, reading tea leaves and all that, by sheer nature of the Lakers front office having so many voices, I cannot fathom that whole set of that room all agrees that AD should be kept over KD in this situation. I don't believe that, especially if it comes around to them saying, okay, we can't find a deal. Would you be willing to give us AD just to fix the situation? I'm willing to bet the Lakers may be willing to make that move, depending on what the Nets are willing to throw on top of that, if it comes down to a situation where they otherwise have to hold on to KD, an unhappy KD otherwise. Because at the end of the day, as much as we love AD, I'm telling you, you would have to be crazy not to be concerned when he falls, man. That's just what it is. You got to be one hell of a strong mind to not at least gasp if you're a Laker fan when this man hits the floor, because it's always an issue of, is he going to get up? Is this going to be something that keeps him out? When he's healthy, there is no question he can help you in ways that 90% of the league can't not do. But the problem is that if I can only pencil him in for 40 games, if I'm preparing for my second most important player to play 40 games, what can he really do for me in the grand scheme of things? What can he really do for me taking up this portion of the cap? As we always say, a guy like that eats half of your cap, and he's only going to play half of your season? That's the problem with AD. That's the problem with AD. And then it's like, okay, well, the performance aspect of it too. Last time we saw him, he didn't look his best when he was out there. So it's like, what am I hanging my hat on? Right? What am I hanging my hat on? Honestly, potentially him coming back, looking better than he did. Is that what I'm hanging my hat on? And I'm weighing that against an opportunity to get KD? I'm the guy in the room saying, hell no, we doing this. So if there's a unanimous situation in that room and they had me in there, I'm like, no, we need to reconsider this, because at the end of the day, I love Anthony Davis and what he brings to the table. But if he cannot be present, then I don't have him. He's not there. You know, and that's the problem with AD, and that's the argument that AD detractors make, and I agree with it. I'm relying on faith as it pertains to this man. And I don't think that's the problem with KD. Even with the injury, he was there. And the fact that he took on so much of a role in these playoffs and managed to stand upright in doing so, granted they neutralized him, but he didn't walk away hurt, tells me that he's going to be expected to be his normal self, his best conditioned self, ready to go. And you put him in a system with the defensive players that we have, he's going to do what he does. So I expect KD to play more than AD. That's the bottom line. That's literally the bottom line. Even though AD's 28 years old, I don't look at him as 28. He's like 36 body-wise. Last time I saw him, he looked 37, 36 years old. So that's not a normal 28-year-old body we looking at. So I don't look at the age necessarily with him. I look at KD as a better body right now in terms of transitioning. So like, that's the thing. It's like, okay, we can talk about age, but see, you gotta understand. I remember Andrew Bynum. Like, Andrew Bynum was young when he retired because of his knees and all that other stuff. So age don't really move me. I'm looking at your conditioning. I'm looking at how I'm projecting your conditioning. And if you can't find yourself in a situation where you're going to be getting healthier from here, you know what I mean? What the hell is your age going to help me with? That's not your timeline don't actually align with your age. So that's my thing with AD, man. I don't want to mess around and see him retire at 31 and know I could have traded him for KD a couple years before that. That's my problem with AD. Because I'm looking at him like, man, this is a candidate for retiring early. Swear to God, that's exactly what I see there. A candidate for a guy who's going to walk away from the game sooner because his body going to be like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I just think his body's already exhausted. And so if I believe that, if I truly believe he's 28 going on 36, and I got a chance to trade him for a Pantheon great that may be 33, 34 years old, that might be something I need to consider. I'm not saying I'm doing it, but I'm looking at the price tag and I'm looking at what I can make happen there. Especially if the Nets come back around and say, I can't get rid of this great player. I can't get rid of him. Then of course I'm going to put together a package. Now maybe it doesn't involve AD at that point, but then what else do I have to move to make the matches? I'm not going to give him back Kyrie. That doesn't make any sense. I'm not giving him LeBron James. That's not happening. It has to be AD if I want to make it match. So how do I make that make sense? Well, like I said, I make them pour on. They're going to pay more. They're going to have to pay me to make that happen because AD someone I want versus KD someone they don't. And that's what they're going to run into in negotiations. It ain't about the piece anymore. It's about my desire to keep my piece versus yours desire to get rid of yours. You're going to pay for that. So if this plays out the way I think it does, chances are the Nets are probably just going to settle for a lesser deal to get rid of KD to keep him from joining Kyrie. That's what I think they're going to do out of spite. Because at that point, if I'm not going to get the deal I want, and I'm not going to be happy with the move I make, then I'm either going to keep him here, as to which that's not going to work. If they try that crap, that's going to fall apart real fast. Or trade him for, whatever Toronto's willing to give me or whatever Phoenix is willing to give me or something like that. So they have a lot of options, but I'll tell you this. If they mess around and play petty and make the wrong deal, we know they're Brooklyn Nets. They're going to head in the other direction real fast. And historically, they've been known for making horrible deals, which is why they've been in this situation in the first place. So if I were them, if they have any inclination that being petty is the right move for their organization, I would give that some more thought. If AD is on the table and I'm in your think tank room, I'm telling you to trade with the Lakers. I'm telling you, hey, if we can't find nothing else, you take AD and whatever else you can from the Lakers, and you be done with this nonsense. And if for some reason you don't love AD, he's very tradable. And you can get a very hell of a haul to reset your situation if for some reason AD doesn't work out. So it's like, that's an easy fix. You talk about, look, I'm going to tell you the truth. If I'm the Nets, if I'm Sean Marks, I look at it like this. If I do the deal with the Lakers, what I'm inheriting are very valuable trade pieces. Russell Westbrook, $47 million contract at the deadline is going to be very valuable for reasons that we've already expressed 1.5 million times. It's a bubble that's going to create cap space for anyone who holds it. Pop, you have it, give it to whoever you want. Lots of free agents you want next summer. That's a good situation for a team that's in flux, in rebuild, trying to figure out who they are, what they want to do. That's a good piece to have, and they're about to have it with Russell Westbrook and Kyrie Irving. They're about to have that piece. I think Anthony Davis is just as good of a piece to trade at the deadline if for some reason you really want a crazy haul. You couple Russell Westbrook's expiring contract and Anthony Davis, and you're going to break the records for the haul that you receive. You can give that to Utah for everything they just got for you, Rudy Gobert, and more. Like, for real. These are things you can do at the deadline next year with the haul that you get from the Lakers in the KD-Kyrie trade. Now, of course, you can do that with anything you get for KD, obviously. But at the trade deadline next year specifically, those two pieces, that's crazy. That's a package that can get you Zion. That's a package that can get you Dame. That's a package that can get you anything, basically. So if I'm the Nets, just because I don't necessarily want to move forward with the pieces I receive does not necessarily mean that I can't maneuver those pieces just the same and be very pleased. So that's something I would be thinking about if I'm Sean Marks right now. It ain't all lost if you can't find a deal for KD. There are things you can do to continue to make your situation a lot better. One of them is definitely not trading first-round picks for Royce O'Neal, role player, and re-signing Patty Mills, an aging guy, overpaying for him when you don't even have the timeline for him anymore. These are things you don't do. These are things you don't do. And that's why, if I'm KD, I'm not reneging on that. I'm not playing for the Nets if possible. I'm out of there. It ain't just about this thing going south. It's about stuff you're doing right now. Just like in Portland, when I'm looking at a situation with Dame, they give $100 million to my backup point guard. You're giving $60 million to a center that really ain't really helping as much as he should be. Nah, you're still making moves that's going to make you not very good. They're going to be teams that beat you because of the moves you just made, and I can see it right now. Let me get the hell out of here. So that's the situation there. They don't want that over there as well. So, yeah, that's what I have to say, man. That is pretty much the thought. From here, we'll be waiting for the news. Obviously, if the Lakers are able to make the deal with Brooklyn Nets, we'll see what goes their way. We'll see what ultimately their timeline looks like. But I really think they should give it some consideration, man. If all else fails and the Lakers are willing, they should not hesitate to make that move. Because Anthony Davis is a hell of a piece to rebuild with. And even if you don't want to rebuild him, you can trade him for everything. Simply everything. So, it is what it is, man. That's what I got to say. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching.